Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we read Shadows of Self, chapters 6 and 7, wherein Wax and Wayne find a dead body, and then Wax has a little chat with God, or Harmony, or Sazed, whatever, however you want to refer to the dude. That's who Wax talks to. So, I'm Data, and with me is...
Jamie.
It being Joe.
And Dak.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Riddle me this now and riddle me that. Does anyone really know the mind of the bat? Wherever you're going, whatever you do, a man in the dark keeping watch over you. So poison the ivy with your crocodile tears. We're climbing the vines to the heart of your fears. Can you tell me, has something changed? The rewards are zero, cause I ain't no hero. Do you know it when you go strange? Is your taunting true? Am I as crazy as you? Check my head, I guess the joke's on me.
So yeah, Joe's back, and 2 more chapters. What did you guys think? And also some broadsheets, so you can throw that in there if you want. What did you guys think of these chapters?
Yeah, the broadsheets. Alamancer Jack is now Gentleman Jack.
Right?
Reading that right? Yeah, honestly, after reading his book or his story, I just really don't rate him. And I was not keen to read on about Gentleman Jack. And the other bits, I didn't really pick up anything in there that I thought was particularly crucial, but kind of fun to get a bit of an insight into what's going on a bit more. The chapters were really good. I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion between Wax and the god formerly known as Sazed. That was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that it was a good conversation. It wasn't sort of cryptic bits here and there. Yeah, so actually getting a lot of information about, was it Bleeder?
Yeah, I think that's right,
yep.
Bleeder.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. And Wax's revelation that, oh, it's hemalurgy, isn't it? This is a spike. This is, okay. Unfortunately, yes. I liked that we got to see Marissa use her slow bubble, which was pretty cool again. Like that was actually really cool. And quick thing, like I had completely forgotten about it because she's been so down on herself for so long. I'd forgotten about her power, but that was very cool. And another little mystery in there is very much this person is very much targeting Wax and Bloody Tan as a kandra rather than a blood maker, which was pretty good. I was happy we were right about that one. And finding the body, some good old fashioned crime scene detective stuff going on between Wax and Wayne. I really loved the sentence that the kitchen was just big enough for a body to lie down, and he knew that because there was a body lying down.
Yep.
I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, as I was reading it, I was like, they're gonna find a body. They're gonna find a body. They're gonna find a body. Oh, they did find a body. Really sad for Idashwi, I think is how we say it.
I think it's right.
Yeah, sad for her. I think she was finding herself and liking this new life, and it's all been taken away. Pretty scary, the thing about removing one spike. They can still stay in their form, but they're a bit nuts. And I also never put together the bit about Ruin could speak and Preservation could listen, because I'm sure that Ruin had conversations with Vin.
Yeah, but it was conversations like where Vin says something out loud. Like he could hear you talk out loud. He couldn't hear what you were thinking in your mind, which she did figure out. She tried thinking things at him and realized, oh, he can't read my mind. So
right. So Preservation can hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
But Ruin couldn't. But if you spoke to Ruin and actually had a conversation with Ruin, then you could speak. Okay. So I misinterpreted that a little bit in this one. Yeah. Good though. Lots of little bits happening, not a huge amount of action or anything, but I'm enjoying seeing Wax and Wayne get into a bit more of the detective side. Like I know they did that in the first one, but it was kind of a bigger thing at stake. But now being part of the constabulary, they really, they can get into the crime scenes and find all the little details and follow up their leads and stuff, and that's really good. I'm also really happy that Wax and Marasai might actually have a chance of having a more positive relationship with each other, rather than, oh, she just is in the way all the time and he's just putting me down all the time, and that's a bit sad. So I'm glad that hopefully this is an opportunity for them to patch some of that up.
I like what you said about the detective work, because one of the interesting things to me is that Wayne is actually helpful with the detective work part, which maybe you don't expect. You expect Wax to know that. But
yeah. So Wax will go and do like the body, and then Wayne will go and figure out all the other stuff. Like when he was looking at all the liquor in the cabinet, it was like, oh, she's found one she likes. It's a very cool way of building a picture and putting all these small details together, because I probably wouldn't have looked at that and gone, huh.
Right. I'm curious. You said you expected them to find a dead body. Did you expect it to be Dashwi's body that they were going to find, or somebody else?
Look, I honestly don't remember. I think I thought that it would be more of a mystery if it was her body, but I wasn't quite sure how that was going to pan out that way. But I guess it makes sense that if, a kandra could be imitating her and that she's now dead or something, but her body was still there. So whether it's obviously not her running around, it's our other blonde friend, by the sounds of it, running around. It doesn't sound like she wanted to do anything bad. She was just trying to live her life.
So yeah, these two chapters were good. I'm really enjoying the book so far. I think maybe by virtue of the fact that they're shorter books, they just seem a lot tighter. The story clips along at a more frequent, like just a different kind of pace, which has helped keeping me engaged for sure. I'm really enjoying all the detective work stuff in it. I love mysteries and books, so this is very interesting. The stuff with Marasai I'm finding less interesting, but it looks like now Sace is kind of and I know it's all wrapped up in each other, but Sace is going to kind of tie it together here, I guess, by telling him like, hey, you should be including her. She's there for a reason. I worked really hard on that to get her to be there in that place for a reason. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the fruits of that. The whole kandra thing, while it was a very cool moment to know that there are kandra involved and that's kind of what's going on, it also seemed very exposition-y to have Sace be like, hey you, hey guy, yeah, you know me, I'm your god, hey, by the way, this is what's going on, dude. That felt kind of weak story-wise to me, to just have God drop in and be like, yo, this is the dealio, and I need you to fix it. So, this is what's happening. So that was a little strange, but yeah, the scenes with Wayne doing detective work, both of them go into her house, finding the lady dead, finding out about hemalurgy, finding out that it's Spook that wrote the book, which, by the way, I don't understand how any person listening to this podcast could still defend Spook. If he wrote a book about hemalurgy and left it for the masses to read, like, how stupid can you be? Like, how utterly foolish can you get?
His book about hemalurgy, and wasn't he questioning like, it's not that bad, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. I'm like, how
everything he went through.
How could people still think he's cool, or think he's interesting, or think he's not a moron? Like, I don't understand. Why are you defending this man? He's clearly a fool.
He's like, it's good now, right? Because Sace is in control of it.
Yeah, shoving spikes through people with blood. That's good now, right? Anyway, yeah, super obnoxious, obviously, but I'm still very interested to see where this is going. I think we kind of had predicted at some hemalurgy influence in the first book with them kind of gathering up mistings. So yeah, it looks like this is the other side of the coin, right? Somebody's stocking up ferochemy powers. Of course, this time we know it's a kandra, which to me is kind of more interesting, because you're talking about a creature that can literally slip the powers on and off, which is definitely different than what we've seen. But my question then is, it's like, if I take a ferochemical spike out of my body because I'm a kandra, do they put it back in a bag of blood, or does that slowly, like, did the power slowly sap out of it and then you got to go get another body?
Yeah.
So that is something that is a little concerning. But also, just as a side note, which I know we're gonna get there, but the nickname for the kandra is really stupid. What is it? Blood what?
Bleeder.
Leader?
Bleeder. Yeah, that's a stupid name. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the chapters this week.
I like this picture of like the kandra just walking around like with a bag or like or like a lunchbox or something just full of blood. Like they only took that back in there.
Well, so
It's a Ziploc.
No. It's just towing around. We call it an esky. I think you guys call it a cooler, like the thing you put all the beer cans in.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to keep that blood cool. That's a good point.
Just towing around
why
this
do you
thing
need to
full
keep
of
it
ice
cool?
and bloody spikes.
So that it doesn't
You don't
like
want it to
dry.
congeal?
Yeah, and congeal, exactly.
I mean, I don't know if a kandra's really worried about that. Doesn't say that the blood has to be liquid.
You get like a big blood block then.
Blood cake.
Yeah. Blood sausage. Whatever.
Yeah. That's a good name for a band, Blood Cake. We are Blood Cake.
But speaking of the kandra, I feel like Dak should be feeling very vindicated at this point with he's been pushing the kandra bad guy angle so hard.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good work. Good work, Dak. It only took God telling us exactly what was going on for us to find out.
Well, I mean, you are 100% right. It's like just having God spell it all out. It's like, oh yeah, that's kind of just a little bit cheap, I guess. But on the flip side, it's like I really enjoy Sazed, and so having him talk to us for a bit more, I'm just like, I mean, yes, it's like it's a bit cheap, but it's also so fun. I don't really mind it that much. So.
Yeah, I mean, no one was more jazzed than me that Sazed was talking to us directly, but still, I was kind of like, oh, really? You're the exposition guy, Sazed? All right.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed these chapters. I liked that Marisai had her own bit removed from Wax and Wayne, where she got to be a part of the action, saving the governor, putting up her bubble and everything. So that was pretty cool, because I think this whole book, she's just been sort of annoying me a little bit, but it was nice to get her moments. Like, no, you actually are a competent character. Just need to stop bitching about Wax in your internal monologue all the time. As far as the kandra goes, when they were describing it, I'm just like, okay, so like kandra get hemalurgic powers through spikes, so the spikes just random sentience. But then I was thinking back and going, no, this makes sense, because back in the olden days they referred to their spikes as the blessings, and because Tensu mentions like, oh, with Orisua's blessing I can run super super fast. I'm like, oh, so that was just a steel runner spike, looking back, or something like that. So it was one of those things, like when I first read it, I've just gone, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then I kept thinking about it more and more. It's like, oh, wait, no, it actually totally does. It just was never explicitly pointed out in the original trilogy. So that works. Yeah, I like the idea of this kandra bad guy. I mean, I've been pushing this for a while, but this hasn't really taken the path that I expected, I guess, because I was so sure it'd just be like, oh yeah, Mr. Suit and his army of kandras. And it's like, oh, this could still just be a rogue agent. I don't know. But the whole insanity, like, you know, only having one spike and then ripping it out and dropping onto another one, like, that's messed up. Fascinating, but messed up. And again, I was just like, oh, really? So if you have 2 spikes, you're susceptible to influence from the gods, but if you only got 1, then you're not. That doesn't make much sense. And I thought, well, no, Ruin was able to take control of all the Inquisitors who had multiple spikes, but Vin had the earring and he wasn't. So again, I guess that sort of makes sense. I wish I knew like why 2 spikes is so much better than 1, but well, maybe that'll get explained later. I don't know. But yeah, on the whole, this was fun. I think my favorite part, actually, from a character level, was that opening bit where Wax goes and finds Wayne, and Wayne is just very morose about the previous chapters. Like, that was actually quite heartbreaking to see that. Like, Wayne just asking Wax, it's like, why didn't you kill me? And I'm like, holy fuck, Wayne, are you okay, buddy?
I would have killed you, buddy. It's okay.
Yeah. So, but yes,
okay.
No, like, cool little crime story.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's some really great character stuff there. To clarify some things from back in the original series, first about the 1 and 2 spikes, you're right on target, because we did find out in the original series that 1 was not enough because Vin had the 1 spike, right? We also found out in the original trilogy that 2 was enough because the kandra all pulled out their spikes specifically to stop Ruin from taking them over, and they only had 2 spikes. So we've known that for that long at least.
Rashek couldn't have thrown him in the bones. Like, hey, if you only take out one, you'll still be you mostly, but he can't take you over.
Yeah, right.
I guess he didn't want him to go around being insane, I guess. I mean, that's probably a good plan.
That's probably not bad. Not great. Yeah.
I mean, granted, but I just want to take another opportunity to go, fucking Rashek.
But also important to establish is that a blessing, according to Sazed/God in the epigraphs in the third book, a kandra blessing consists of 2 spikes. So the 2 spikes together are the blessing, which means that if it was doing something kind of similar. The blessing of potency is what he had that let him like run fast and for a long time. It does seem like it's sort of similar, but it's definitely not exactly the same thing because it's 1 spike getting the power versus the 2 spikes together, which they need for a blessing. Also, and maybe this is less reliable than information directly from Sazed as God in the original trilogy, but we're in Well of Ascension, we are explicitly told by Tensoon/Orsor, who he's impersonating at the time, that you can't, that kandra can't have allomantic powers. Like there was no way to give it to them because remember, as Vin is searching for who the traitor is, like which one in the crew has been secretly replaced by a kandra, she's testing their allomancy because that's the information she gets, that there's no way that they could have allomantic powers. So
okay. Counterpoint, steel running is a ferrochemical power, not an allomantic
true.
one.
Yeah, you're right.
And also, like, again, that's Tensoon relating what he's been told because fucking Rashek might not be giving him all the information.
Absolutely.
True words.
So yeah, just you make excellent points. I just wanted to point out the established canon that we know of, and like I said, for all we know, he could have been lying about it because he was impersonating someone else at the time. So yeah, who knows?
That's true too.
So yeah.
Well, and it seems like we're constantly finding out that people are like, oh no, this is the way it is, and then it's like, oh wait, no, that's not really the way.
People never know it as well as they think they do.
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing of the first book. It's like, this is how allomancy works. Yes.
Is it though?
But.
Okay. I guess let's get into these things. So I want to start off by noting that we got an email from somebody, one of our regular Discord users and stuff, pointed out to me that it's like in the last couple episodes, and this is before the last 2 episodes we recorded haven't even been released yet, I don't think. But so the last couple episodes before that, he's like, you're kind of reading, like just straight reading a lot, to the point where it's like you may be risking like audiobook territory here and like providing you could get yourself in trouble for providing this for free when you're basically like rereading so much of these. And I kind of as I was listening to the last 2 episodes that we recorded, I was like, he's right, I am reading a lot. Like, so I'm going to try to avoid doing that quite as much. I think that the deal is with these books in particular, everything is so, it's right there. They're short, so they get the point across real quick. So there's less to summarize. Like, it would take me longer to summarize than to literally read the thing that I'm summarizing. So I think that's part of it. And also part of it is like all of Wayne's lines are like gold. Like, yeah. I feel like reading every single one of them because they're all hilarious. So I'm going to try to avoid that, doing that quite as much in this one, but if I can manage it.
Oh, Wayne.
So yes, we get the first thing in the broadsheet is another Jack story, although as Jamie points out, it is Gentleman Jack. And I don't know, I think that the paper we're reading here may be a different paper than the one that we read in the last one. I don't recall for certain. And I actually, now that I've said that, I may go look to make sure that I'm not crazy, but.
So I think he mentioned it in the story. It's like, you've been reading about me in blah, and now you've started reading me in the post or whatever this one's called. Like, I think he actually referred to them as different ones.
So yeah, and in that case, maybe that's like the paper selling their bit is different from the other, is like that they advertise him slightly differently. I don't know. Of course, he's also like at a big party somewhere. So
you watch like. That'll be book 3. It's Wax and Wayne trying to solve like the newspaper rivalry that grew deadly.
So yeah, the first book, it was like the Ellendale Daily or something. It starts with the Ellendale, and in this one it is the House Register or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. It starts with the House. So yeah. So Jack's at a party. He's trying to save the buttons from the Lord Mistborn's favorite smoking jacket or some shit. Like, something's just ridiculously stupid.
Yeah. Lost me at Lord Mistborn.
Oh, and just Jack is still just obnoxious. He's like, my silver tongue and tin quick mind. It's very, we got more of that Brannigan happening here.
I definitely hear Zach
Baby,
Flanagan.
it'll blow your mind.
Like, my quick-witted mind and my sensual silver tongue.
Yes.
So yeah, let's just.
And my velour bed sheets. They're real velour.
Jack's doing Jack thing. I don't even really care, so we'll move back. But the second ad's my favorite one. All children love Soonie Pups.
Oh, these just sound creepy.
I think it's just a stuffed animal, but I like it's the advertisement is you can move its legs. Real fur.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like the level of technology. It makes sense. Like they don't exactly have the Robo Puppy.
Robo Puppy initiating 12-hour yipping session.
Also, are they called Soonie Pups because of Tensoon?
So,
oh my god.
Yep, I 100% missed that. My first read, I thought it was just like, oh, Soonie Pups, it's just the name of some stuffed animal, until people started pointing it out on like Reddit and other places. I'm like, holy shit, that is Tensoon. It's like a Tensoon stuffed animal. That's amazing. I want one now.
It's pretty cute.
Everyone loves Soonie Pups.
Special edition.
Maybe you'll get a
Pup.
Soonie Pup.
We'll betray you to your sister.
Maybe you'll get a Soonie Pup in the swag bags.
Yeah, maybe so. I'd take it.
Maybe.
We get a story about flooding in other areas of the basin that are going to affect Ellendale, and we kind of see the ramifications of this in the Marisize section, where prices are starting to go up on basic necessities. So that's nice.
She mentions it when the governor's talking. Is like, you're not even talking about the boonies where it's flooding and people are dying. You're just like, oh, we'll save the city. So
no, he does mention. He's like, we're gonna send.
Oh, he didn't lead with it. That was the issue.
Yeah, he didn't lead with it. He's like, we're going to send help out to and she's like, no, they don't want to hear about help going to other places. They want you to fix this place. Vif Sparkle Tonic. I don't even. Okay, if you say so. And Pectinade, the basin's favorite snack. These ads are fun.
The Sparkle Tonic has like Dr. Franck, and that just made me think Father of the Bride.
It's been a very long time since I've seen that movie.
Great movies.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like I remember as a kid liking the sequel actually more, but it's been since I was a kid that I've seen those movies.
I hadn't actually seen them until only a couple of years ago because Jamie loved them, so we sat down and watched them. I'm just like, I
made you watch them in preparation of our wedding.
Nice.
I mean, I wasn't gonna just throw that under the bus, but okay.
The audio cut out for me. What are we talking about?
Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride.
Oh yeah, those are great movies.
Yeah.
I mean, to your credit, you enjoyed them, Dak.
Oh no, like they were really good movies, and I'm just like, I didn't know how they were gonna go because I'm just like, sometimes Steve Martin comedies they can be hit or miss, but these ones were actually lovely. Yeah. I liked them.
Me and my wife still say, I want the chipper chicken.
Jamie's like, it's real lucky that you like those movies because I don't know how the wedding would have gone if you didn't.
Yeah. It's like, it's this is kind of a deal breaker.
Steve Martin is very hit or miss for me. I agree.
Have you guys watched Only Murders in the Building?
Yes.
I loved it. Did you love it?
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
my wife and I watched it. We both liked it a lot. My issue is that I said Steve Martin is hit or miss for me. I almost never like Martin Short. I don't. There's something about Martin Short that gets on my nerves, and I don't like him. And that's kind of the point of him in that show, is that he's kind of supposed to get on your nerves and be like this weird, selfish, annoying guy but not like a bad guy.
Yeah. He definitely is not the best.
And so I still don't love him in the show, but his character works and fills that role really well. And then Steve Martin and what's her name?
Selena Gomez?
Yeah.
Yes.
They both do a really good job. And so I like the show, and I like the way they played the mystery. I thought that was really good. I like the concept of the show. I was a fan of it.
I'm keen for season 2.
I'm really curious for season 2. Yeah.
Because they're going to have to pull out something pretty special.
Yeah. Well, and it's like you can't do the same exact thing again.
No.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a stretch, like story-wise, to justify. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. You start a podcast called Only Murders in the Building. You only cover murders in the building you're in. Hopefully there's not too many seasons of that. You would really hope. But
You'd really be looking to move out of the building,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
right.
By that point.
It's like that British crime series Midsummer Murders, and it's like they were like, I don't know, dozens of seasons of that. I'm just like, how is there anyone left in Britain? You've murdered them all.
That's it. That's funny. Yeah, we watched the first episode of that, and it was pretty disturbing because it was like an incest thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm not watching any more of this.
Which was that Midsummer?
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad loved that show. Like, I watched a few episodes. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I just remember there was one that had a very young Orlando Bloom, like pre-Pirates, pre-Lord of the Rings, when he was just kind of an annoying shit.
Oh.
And he was the initial murderer of the episode. He got stabbed with a pitchfork.
Huh. Now I just want to see that. I just want to see Orlando Bloom get killed by a pitchfork. That's kind of fascinated. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Back into the actual chapters, which we haven't even started yet on our tangent.
And we are like an hour into our record.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, you know,
Anyway, so
give the people what they want.
Wax is flying through Ellendale, thinking about all his responsibility for thousands of people who work under his house and how he has to represent them and such. And we get more specifics about how the politics works, which we've kind of been a little bit unclear on. Like, we knew that there was like a bicameral Senate, basically, that you had the representatives from the professions, you have the representatives from the noble houses, and now we find out that they elect a governor, and the governor is like the leader, I guess. So that's interesting. I mean, I wonder how that works. If that's just Ellendale, is there like another government for the whole basin, or does each city just do their own thing?
Well, he's talking about sending relief to the
That's right, yeah.
So presumably he has authority over them as well. And then anything outside the basin, they'll just like, he's just like, I don't give a shit.
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, a country can send relief to another country. You don't have authority over them if you're but you can send them money and stuff to help out.
I guess.
Anyway, we don't get any more information on that, so who knows? Hopefully later we'll learn if the politics of Ellendale is really an important topic for you. I like that the Church of the Survivor has a big glass dome on top so that they can see the mists, but they don't have to be in the mists. Survivorism's come a long way. I wonder, do we know if Marisai, like, Steris is a survivorist. We know that. Do we know if that's Marisai's church also?
I don't know if it's come up.
Yeah, I don't know that it is either.
I wonder what does Marisai do if Wax mentions to her? It's like, oh yeah, like Harmony says that he's got a whole plan for you, and you're doing his work or whatever. Like, how do you react to that if that is your god, but also if that's not your god?
Yeah.
Like, both of these are uncomfortable situations to be in.
Yeah, I feel like for her, she strikes me as one of those people that's like open to the possibility that all of the religions are true, which technically pieces of all of the religions are true. So, you know, it's one of those things.
We get some constables dealing with some picketers who have gotten a little bit violent, and Wax has to save them. And like, one of the women's like, they call him Don Shot. Like, oh man, thanks, Don Shot.
That's a great name.
Yeah, as far as nicknames go, cool, rough nicknames. That's not a bad one. I think Miles 100 Lives is still cooler, but you can't get that name unless you can survive being shot in the face or whatever. So
I'm just imagining like Wayne is just complaining because his nickname is Hat Boy or something.
I think it's this book where we hear his nickname.
The Adventures of Dawn Shot and Hat Boy.
I'd watch it. And Wax is thinking about like the guy. So there's strikes going on in town. Like, the workers are upset, and he's like, they have an actual grievance. Like, I found some of those same problems in the factories that I own, the few factories that I own. And, I had to fire some overseers, had to hire more people for shorter shifts, but that means you got to pay them more so they can survive. And there's no easy answers to this, basically. But people are upset. They're not going to stand for it much longer, maybe. And then he finds Wayne hanging out, feet in the water. And he's like, Wax asks if it went poorly, and he's like, same as always. It's strange. Most days I don't mind being me. Today I do. It's just a carryover from how very sad that last section was with him.
Yeah, it's like it's a Wayne bit. You expect Wayne bits to be funny and weird, and it's just sad.
Not that it doesn't get funny and weird while still being sad.
Granted, but yeah, there's enough of a variance, I guess.
So he asked him back when you and John Deadfinger, first found me, do you ever wonder if you should have just shot me? So they found him when he was 16. So I guess we must not have known, or he must not have known Wax that long when we saw them in the prologue, because he was still 16 at that point.
Yeah, which makes sense because he keeps calling him kid, not even Wayne.
Mm-hmm. And Wayne was so upset by accidentally killing this guy, he threw his guns and ammunitions down a well and went under a house with his hands over his ears, crying that he could still hear the shots. And Wayne's just like, so many of the boys that we run across, any of them could be like me, but they don't get a second chance. How come I did? And Wax is just like, look, if I found any of them unarmed and hiding and perfectly willing to be brought in, then I wouldn't have shot them either. But that's not how we find them. We find them with guns in their hands trying to kill people. So if I'd found you like that, I would have shot you too. And Wayne's like, really? It's like, of course, I'd have shot you right in the head, Wayne. You're a good friend. Thanks, Wax. You didn't promise to kill me. You promised to have killed me. That there be the present perfect tense. For the guy who supposedly only knew 4 letters, he's got an interesting grasp of the English language.
He's going to shoot someone later than... Oh, no, he doesn't shoot. He's going to hit someone with his stick later in the book and just go, wrong conjunctives, buddy.
And Wax points it out. It's like, your grasp of the language is startling considering what you do to it. And he's like, ain't nobody knows the cow better than the butcher, which, yeah, I guess. That's a fair point.
It's a hard point to argue with.
Yeah. He asked if Wayne knows Idashwi, and he's like, no, haven't met her. They keep kicking me out of the village when I visit. And Wax is thinking, it's like, as far as I know, that's not true. Wayne occasionally puts on some terrace robes, fakes the accent, and sneaks in to live among them for a few days before he gets in trouble for saying something crude to one of the young women and gets thrown out.
No, he doesn't get thrown out.
Oh, he doesn't get thrown out. Yeah, he just leaves. He gets bored and wanders off. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets bored.
And then we got Marasai, and here's where she's like, somebody's like, 5 notes for 1 basket of apples. That's robbery. And Marasai's like, yeah, that's a little.
I feel ya.
Marasai's just like, that does seem a little high, don't you think? To the person selling the apples, and they're like, I'm not doing anything wrong. No, you're allowed to charge whatever you want, but I'm just saying, what do you know that nobody else does? And the person's like, the grain shipments from out east, they're not coming. Floods destroyed them all. Do you know how much food this city eats? We're 1 shipment away from starvation. Which is weird to me considering, A, how fertile we're constantly being told the entire basin is. And B, we find out in the last book, or maybe it was early in this book, it's like, you're not even allowed to have decorative trees that don't grow fruit that can be eaten. That was one of the rules set down by the Lord Mistborn or whatever. So how is there not enough food? It's weird. And she thinks that, there's storages that can be let out. There's a cheese reserve or whatever the joke was that's been going around about the U.S. has a strategic cheese reserve.
What?
Oh, you haven't seen that? Maybe it's just I'm on Reddit. But yeah, they're always there were jokes going around about the strategic cheese reserve that can be released.
Oh, dear God.
Sure.
But she's like, this person's not totally right, but they're also not totally wrong. And then we get to the square where the speech is going to take place, and it's real full of people. And while the rest of the people from her precinct are going to help with crowd control, she's like, Constable General Aradel wants me to bring a report on the speech. Is there a spot that I could watch from? And the guy's like, no. Every niece and nanny of a house lord has demanded a spot. And then she's like, okay, I'll try to find a place in the crowd. And it's like, wait a second, don't I know? Yeah, you're that bastard. Right.
Yeah, think it through, guys. It might be a fact that she was born out of wedlock, but have some tact. That is
right?
horrific. Can
Nah.
you imagine being spoken to like that? Ugh.
Oh, yeah, you're that bastard. I remember you. You look all right.
And she thinks that this is one of those old nobleman officers who they think they can just say whatever. It's just like old people. You're like, yeah, old people just say whatever ridiculous shit comes into their head and don't realize how ridiculous they're being. But there's also an issue because her nature, quote unquote, used to be kind of a secret, and now everyone just kind of knows. And she's like, maybe her mom did have some justification behind those angry letters that she was sending. And so, but it gets her a spot to listen from. So I guess take the wins.
This guy, he mentions Constable Wells. Is that another Brandon's buddy cameo?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I think he mentioned like Wellen or whatever his name was from the original trilogy was named after that guy.
Oh yeah, you might be right. That might be exactly what it is. Let's see. So Wells is a constable in the Ellendale Constabulary. Maybe a cameo by his friend Dan Wells, similar to Wellen. So I guess it hasn't been established for sure that it is.
I'm just gonna assume that it is.
Yeah, just make the assumption. It's fine. Everything's a cameo. Like when you're a writer and you write so much stuff, you got to come up with names somehow.
I mean, I don't have a problem with like throwing in like people based off the ones you know and even named after them in some way. That's fine. But it just seemed like there was in these books there have been so many, and one of them was a fairly major side character who had a stipulation that he'd get a girlfriend at the end, and that was granted. And I'm just like, are you just letting these people dictate your writing?
True. Well, and it also, maybe that's true in a lot of other books too, but you don't get the annotations from that, like I was reading to you from this one, so you just never know it.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point.
But I don't think there are any annotations for this one, so.
Because he stopped doing them, didn't he?
Yeah, at some point, although he kind of, during the release of the last Stormlight book, he kind of went back and he was doing a weekly post on Reddit with because before the book came out, they were releasing like a chapter a week up to the first part of the book, so like a bunch of chapters. And every week he'd do a Reddit post to advertise that and give like annotations on the chapter. So I feel like it's one of those things where he's like, I stopped doing that because I didn't have the time, but I kind of want to do it low key. Find an excuse. And like even after like at the end of their conversation, he's still so condescending. He's like, there's a space with the reporter's little harms. Go on. Tell your dad I said hi.
Yeah. I like how he likes her dad. It's like, yeah, you're that bastard. Well, tell your dad I said hi.
He likes her dad because he's bad at cards, but never lost so much that it made him feel bad winning. It's just a very specific reason, and I feel like I'd like that guy too, to be fair. And we cut back to Wax, who sees Bloody Tan again in a crowd, and once again does not find him when he stops. And he doesn't want to tell Wayne because you don't want to tell anyone that you're hallucinating the face of a dead guy in every crowd at this point. That usually doesn't bode well. And Wayne's like, oh, I get it. You're contemplating your impending marriage to Steris. That's why you look so upset. And Wax is like, look, I wish you'd leave Steris alone. She's not as bad as you make it out to be. And that's the same thing you said about that horse. Remember the one that only bit me? Roseweather had good taste. But so Wayne has managed with his people skills to figure out where the Steel Runner lives, where she works. No one there has seen her in a week, though. So there's your first hint that maybe there's a dead body somewhere, right?
Yeah. That or she's off, living a life of crime.
Yeah, either way. And he traded at the jewelry store where she works for a pure gold pocket watch with opaline markings on the face.
The next sentence is, they took the watch back.
Yeah. Wayne figured it had been for trade since it had been sitting on the counter in nothing but a little glass box.
Oh, boy.
Like, did the box have a top? Did he smash it to get it?
Right? Or like lift it. I imagine it's one of those that you like lift it off and it's like got no bottom, but who knows? He like picked the lock and opened the case and pulled it out. I assumed it was for trade.
I like how they just have to go back to the jewelry store. It's like, also, like, I wanted to see that scene. Like, what do they say to the jeweler? And they're like, here, this is yours. Wait, what? Yeah, my partner here's stupid. And he thought he could trade for that.
They talk about the fancy neighborhood, and we find out that they got a big reward from the Vanishers case, like a percentage of the recovered aluminum, which says, like, Wayne, you're basically rich. You know this, right? And it says that he hasn't touched his, which you'd think at the very least he would be sending some to that family, right? I don't know.
I mean, that's probably what he's doing with it.
I love that when they find her door, they look at it, it's like, nice door, good wood. He kicked it open. Wayne has an appreciation for these things. And then I agree with Jamie. One of the best lines, where it's like, it was just large enough for a person to lie down in this kitchen. He knew that because of the bloody corpse stretched on the floor.
So good.
Looks like we're going to need a new prime suspect, Wax. This one downright refuses to not be dead already. Yep.
Well, if you tried convincing her otherwise, Wayne.
It feels so much like one of those procedural shows, but like the funny ones, like Psych or something, where they walk in and find a dead body and there's some hilarious joke about it because of, this messes up our whole plan.
What was the one where, like, he puts on the sunglasses and you just hear that, yeah, on the soundtrack?
I have no idea.
It's like a CSI or something.
I never watched CSIs, so
no, it might not have been CSI. There was, I don't know, some crime show was like they get to the case and he makes a bad pun, puts on his sunglasses as he does it, and the soundtrack just kicks in loud and obnoxiously.
Let's see. Crime show, sunglasses, pun. Puts on sunglasses. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I found it. Look at my Google ability. Let's see. CSI. Yeah.
No, it was CSI. Okay. I don't watch that. Not from the memes.
Actually, looks like it's CSI Miami specifically. Hold on. There's a clip. I gotta watch it. Oh, yep. Okay. I get the meme now. All right.
Another job well done.
Meme understood. Yeah. Another job accomplished.
I'm Captain America. I'm like, I get that reference. So we're back to Marisai, who cannot actually see the governor, but can see the audience and can hear the governor. So their reaction to the speech is like most of the reason she's here anyway. So, and she notices this person and is like, wait, I know this person from somewhere. What I get from it is that this person seems to have set up some sort of like loudspeaker system, because when the governor starts talking, she's like, wow, I can actually hear him. How weird. Sophie Tarsal. Supposedly, her father was a great inventor, but nobody had ever heard of him.
Like, I was like looking at this, I just gone, shit, is that the kandra? Is that the killer?
Could be, depending on what the killer's actually after. The governor starts giving his speech and immediately goes to talk about how his brother's not really a criminal and the papers are outrageous. And she's just like, nobody's here for that, dude. Like, talk about the real problems. That's why all these people are here. They don't give a shit about your brother. Like, I understand why you want to, like, make it sound like your brother's not super corrupt, like, for your personal power, but that's not going to help anybody.
Address it last or release a statement.
Yeah.
My brother, kind of a dick. We all knew that. Criminal? Nah.
Yeah, I mean, he was super arrogant. He wasn't great. He was kind of paunchy. He was pale. He had dark circles under his eyes. He smoked a lot. He drank quite a bit. He slapped women on the ass. He just but a criminal? No. Not my brother.
And he talks about sending relief for the flooding. Your friends and relatives shall be succored in the face of this disaster. And she's like, no, they don't want to hear about aid going outside the city. Not while things are getting worse and worse here. And she's trying to get a better look. And every time she moves, this guardsman like shuffles in front of her and she's very annoyed. And that's why she notices when he pulls out a revolver and points it at the governor, which I like. That's a very dramatic point to cut off at. I mean, how could you not, really?
Yeah. Also, that's a hell of a shot to try and make with a revolver.
Right?
Unless he's like
I thought he was pretty close, though. Isn't he on the...
He's at the front of the bleachers, I think, where she's standing, is the impression that I'm getting. But I could be wrong. Let me go back and look.
But she's quite close, aren't they? Sort of tucked around? Because they're obscured, but they're close enough to hear.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure that we actually find out exactly how close she is. Well, it says that she's surprised by how his voice echoed across the square loud and clear. Something to do with those devices. So that makes it sound like maybe she's not close to him, but maybe it's just that she can hear as it's echoing out among the other people that are not close, and she is. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's unclear. Cut back to Wax and Wayne in the dead lady's house or apartment. And while Wax examines the dead body, which Wayne is not interested in, Wayne is checking her room and finds a cabinet under the wash basin in the bathroom full of lots of alcohol, each with just a little bit gone, except for one empty one, which is the port. Ugh. So he takes the whiskey and is like, too much bite and too warm.
So just because I'm an alcohol novice, Dak, what is port?
Well, it's like some sort of fortified wine or something, I think. I don't know.
Like a dessert wine. Yeah.
It is a wine.
Fortified.
I know that much.
Well, I hate wine, so I need to hear.
Red.
I don't need to know.
Yeah.
A Portuguese fortified wine, typically sweet red wine. It's often served with dessert.
Back in our younger days when we were all like 18 or 19 and we would just go around to each other's houses and with beer and just hang out for the night. There was one guy in our group who shunned beer and always rocked up with a bottle of port. Not surprisingly, he was always the first one to pass out.
Well,
Yeah, I buy that.
It's a lot stronger.
Port being richer, sweeter, heavier, and higher in alcohol than unfortified wines, usually about 19 to 20% alcohol.
Yeah. This has been your alcohol moment on the Sanderlanche podcast.
I'm also an alcohol novice, so I got to read.
I mean, I drink from time to time, but if I'm going to drink, I usually don't drink wine. I like cocktails. I like a nice hard seltzer.
I think I've done a recipe that needed port before. Like I bought a bottle once for that purpose, but
Sure.
Yeah, beer and whiskey, they're my vices.
You found alcohol, I see. How uncharacteristic, Wax says. And then he says, this murder's troubling, Wayne. And she's like, I'm sure she felt so too. Yep. And Wax is like, there's so many questions here. Like, why did she leave? Why is she living here? It doesn't feel very terraced. And Wayne's like, oh, I can tell you. So, and Wax is like, oh, yeah, really? But Wayne has drawn some very impressive conclusions from just looking around this lady's house, looking at her clothes, looking at her bathroom. And so he paints this picture of this woman, kind of, I guess, middle-aged, old enough to have missed the chance to be wild youth and starting to wish you'd done something more daring. So she has a bit of an adventure side. She decides to leave the village, but starts out very conservative, gets a nice job, pays extra money for the nice apartment in the nice part of town. I like Wayne's like, the village is so dull that even Steris would hate it. So obviously you got to leave. So she starts drinking with some people from work and kind of decides she likes it. So buys a bunch of stuff to find out what she likes. I mean, it's funny because as someone who doesn't drink, if I ever decided like I want to find out what I like, that's basically what I'd have to do. I've tried lots of stuff over the years. I don't remember most of it. So I'd have to be like, okay, I guess I'm going to go out and buy like a little bit of everything and test out to see if I can find one that I like. Because how else are you going to go? Everyone's got a recommendation. But yeah, I've always anytime I've gone out with people that I don't know that well or gone someplace new, somebody's always like, I'm like, no, I don't really like alcohol. I don't like the taste. And they're like, oh, well, you'll like this, the thing that I like. Obviously, you'll like. And I'm always like, okay, I'll try it because why not? But people are always certain that they have the secret.
Yeah. Well, people are full of shit.
So I'm just saying, you can't depend on recommendations because everyone's got one and they're
yeah, everybody thinks their shit's the best.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, man, maybe my shit's the best, but it's not. I don't have any illusions.
And then I'm kind of shocked because Wax is like, I think you need to read this, Wayne, and he gives him the book. What is this? The book that death gave me. Which, once again, very dramatic moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of dramatic statements here. It's like, hey, you want to cool it out, man? Can you just tell me the book that Marisai gave you? Because, I know she gave it to you, so don't be a dick.
Marisai uses her power. She's like, hey, I wasn't caught without metal this time. And,
yay, Marisai.
Right? Aside from keeping this guy busy long enough that, other people could try to catch him and the governor won't get shot, the bullet, or the bubble deflects the bullet, so hey, yay, right? And she lunges at him. It's not enough to topple him over, so she's like laying there half on the steps, holding on to him, feeling stupid because she jumped him and he didn't fall over.
Like, oh, this didn't work.
But then somebody else tackles him, so it's okay. And Wayne's like, oh, so with this hemalurgy, you can make someone metalborn. All right. The book describes the process as tearing off a chunk of someone's soul and then using the spike to attach it to your own soul.
That is a phrase that Spook wrote and then said, you know what, this power should be used.
Yep.
Dickhead.
I've always imagined it, I guess, like stapling. You're stapling a piece of someone's soul to your own because it's using a metal spike. But
yeah, kinda, yeah.
And Wax is thinking, like, Iron Eyes knew that something like this was coming, and why else give me the book, which had been written by the Lord Mistborn long ago to leave some record of this art.
Of course it was.
Okay, but let's be fair, because obviously I don't necessarily agree with him that we need to keep this knowledge because maybe it can be good now. But in my opinion, it's useful to have the ability for someone to know this, if only because if someone like a kandra who was alive then, uses this and nobody else in the world knows what it is, then there's no way for you to understand enough to try to stop it.
Like, I grant, but I still think it. Like, I understand where you're coming from. I think maybe they assumed the kandra were all gone, like as we did. But I still feel like, yeah, writing in reverence of this craft down to painstaking detail, leaving a little how-to manual for it is not a good idea.
Well,
maybe you could describe it as like some sort of lost art involving this, and so people are aware of it, but then you're also not giving them the tools to replicate it. It's like, I'm sorry, like if it's an art that requires killing someone in order to use, which it is, let's not beat around the bush.
Yep.
Like, then it's not worth it.
My own argument also sort of falls apart when you consider that if something like that were to happen, then apparently it's possible to just have a chat with God and he can tell you the information you need to know. So you don't ever have to worry about the knowledge being lost in that sense unless somebody kills God again.
Yeah. Well, like even the earrings that used to speak to God are from the same process.
It's true.
So it's like, oh great, okay. So what? The faceless immortals are God's agents. Are they just going around spiking people to make these earrings?
Fair question. This doesn't seem like the kind of thing Sage would approve of, but who knows?
Yeah.
But it brings up an interesting point. The Wax is like, so yeah, our killer. It looks like they stole Dashwee's ferrochemical talent. This means that they could be walking around with any number or combination of allomantic and ferrochemical abilities, even all of them. So that makes for a terrifying possibility.
Fortunately, they can only use one at a time. Otherwise, Sazed can get in their head.
Mm-hmm. What did you find in the Stiff's pockets? You didn't rifle through the pockets? Wax, you're a terrible grave robber.
You didn't roll for investigation yet. Give me a chance, man.
And Wax is thinking, like, we're out of our depth. Like, this is the realm of Harmony and Iron Eyes and the Lord Mistborn. This is not our deal. And Wayne finds a piece of pocket in her skirt. A piece of paper in her skirt pocket. I can talk. Addressed to Wax.
Yes, there's a pocket in the skirt.
Yeah. Scrawled across the paper, a familiar sentence, the words Bloody Tan had said right before jerking Lessie to the path of the bullet. Someone else moves us, lawman. That's not horrifying or anything. And so this makes Wax feel justified in telling Wayne about having seen Tan around. And Wayne's like, that guy's dead. You shot him in the head. Deader than a stuffed lion in a hunting lodge. It can't be that guy.
If you put together now all the stuff we know about Bloody Tan, and I probably should go back and read the prologue again from that book. But yeah, was Bloody Tan actually still human at that point, or was he a kandra at that point? Like, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on with some weird bodies.
That's true.
And also, like, Wax surely wouldn't have spoken about what was said after unless he's gone. Bloody Tan was the only other person down there, we think, because I don't think memories are passed on, are they?
No, not as far as we can tell. Jamie's got a good point. Who knows? There's some weird shit going on that day for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And apparently they were there long enough after Wax shot this guy that Wayne can confirm. It's like, no, he was dead. And after you're dead, you can't heal. So we talked about that. Like, I think it was Jamie who was like, I doubt that they just like walked away and left him immediately, left the body there, and so it could have healed while no one was looking. Apparently they didn't. So I like just the passing note. Wayne shut the door and tossed his coat, hitting the butler in the face with it.
He really just doesn't like butlers.
And the butler just takes the coat, folds it up. New equipment has arrived from Miss Renette.
You assume this happens to him all the time.
Yeah, right. Wayne says, "Oh, what did she leave for me?" And he goes, "She said I was to slap you." And then in the next paragraph, Wayne is trying to get the butler to slap him across the rear.
The butler's just like, I'm not paid enough for this.
No, nope. And Lady Harms is waiting in the sitting room, so yeah, Steris is here. He tells the butler to send a note to his grandmother informing her they found this woman, but she's sadly dead. And Steris says, wonders if they're going to the ball Lady Zobel's party tonight. Our invitation has gone missing. I suspect Wayne is to blame, but it doesn't matter. They're not going to turn away the great lord of or the lord of a great house, rather. And he's like, I don't think I have time to go to a party. And she's like, well, the governor is attending. You could speak with him personally about his brother. And she says there's some talk about the governor not attending, but considering what happened today, I don't think that he's going to want to appear to be hiding in these parlous times. Wait, what happened today? An assassination attempt on the governor. You don't know? By all reports, the man's aim was terrible. He didn't come close to hitting his victim, which we know, hey, is because Marisai stepped in. And then Wayne comes in with the paper like, hey, look, bold attack on the governor in broad daylight. And Wax is like, I'll try to get to the party, okay? If not, feel free to go without me. And she's like, oh, I'm supposed to take the butler? If you like. Be careful about that, Steris. Wayne says, Wax's butlers have a tendency to explode. I mean, one time. Come on. As far as we know, I guess maybe one could have exploded in the year.
Just hanging around Wayne too much, he blew himself up. That guy,
yeah, right?
That guy tells me to slap his ass one more time.
Oh man, that was my favorite part of that chapter.
And then Wax wants to be alone to think, so Wayne decides to hop up with the coachman, and it's like, hey, Hoyd, can I catch a ride up there with you?
Wonder about that, huh? Sexy drifter back in town.
Working
And
as
not always a beggar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got a job.
Yes. Wax found him as a beggar and was like, hey, man, you need a job. Come on. And so Wax puts in his earring. I like how Hoyd's not hiding nearly as hard in this book as in the last one. And he wonders, like, was this earring also a spike? Was it made by killing someone? And when he puts it in, a voice says, unfortunately, your fears about the earring are correct. And he freaks out because he's hearing, like, it sounds like somebody's sitting right next to him. Pulls out his gun and says, like, firing that gun wouldn't really have an effect. Even if you could see me, shooting me would just ruin the furnishings of your coach, costing precisely 84 boxings to repair the next time Miss Grimes takes to the shop. You'd be left with a new wood panel on the coach body just behind me, which would never quite match those around it. Oh, he's just like, I'm trying to
I love
help
that that's the detail of thought that's gone into it. It's like, you know what, you're going to regret it. You're going to shoot it. It's not going to match. You're never going to get it the same again. It's really not worth it for you.
And he's still got a little bit of that Say's, like, sassiness that was always kind of hiding underneath the surface. Because, like, Wax, like, you're here in my coach. And he's like, well, technically I'm everywhere, so.
I just like a bit where like, when Wax says harmony, I took that as, like, when someone goes, oh, God. And so he goes, harmony, and Say's like, yes?
Hello.
You rang?
And he's like, Wax calls him your deificness.
Yeah, that was dumb.
He's like, you can call me Harmony, or Lord if you must. Now, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, please stop groveling. I can't. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's groveling.
Stop looking away. Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Averting my eyes, oh Lord. Well, stop it.
Stop it. And this conversation is so weird and so fun, where it's just like, Harmony says, what do you want to talk about? And Wax's like, well, you know what I want to talk about, but better to hear you say it. And it's better for you to hear me or for me to hear myself. And Harmony says both. And Wax is like, am I insane? And Harmony's like, well, I mean, if you were, speaking to a figment of your delusion would not help diagnose that. Just saying.
You're not helping much. Then ask better questions, dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not helping. Well, whose fault is that?
So he's like, okay, fine. You need to hear it. Fine. I'm Harmony, the hero of ages, once called Sazed. At the end of the world, I took upon myself the powers of protection and destruction, and in so doing became the caretaker of the world to come. I'm here to tell you that you are not insane. And so Wax is like, Bloody Tan's alive, and so he's like, well, not exactly. There are beings, not human or Koloss, but related to both. You call them the Faceless Immortals. And Wax says, kandra, like Tenzun, the Guardian. I like that the Tenzun also gets a cool nickname. He's the Guardian.
Yeah.
And so Harmony...
One's like, did everyone in the crew get those nicknames?
Right? I want to know them all.
Yeah. And so, all right, so Doxson, the organizer. Shit. Who's the idiot? No, not Clubs. Who was the idiot who got the army killed in the first book?
Oh, Yedden. Yeah.
Yedden, the sacrifice.
I want to know how far distant you are from the main crew and still get a nickname. Like, does Damu have a nickname? Does, like, Beldry get a nickname?
I pictured Damu was probably like the founder because he was one of the biggest figures in the Church of the Survivor in its
That's
infancy.
true. Yeah, he might be like their pope or like their historic first pope or something now. Yeah.
Oh dear God.
So Harmony explains how the kandra work. They eat people, can impersonate their bodies and stuff. And it's like, okay, but everyone knows the faceless immortals are your servants, not murderers. And Harmony's like, well, everyone has the power to choose. Even the Koloss have the power to choose. But the one who's wearing Bloody Tan's body has not made good choices. Who is he? And she says, like, well, she is a member. You should know better than to assume that anyone dangerous is a man, Wax. I like that note that it's like, come on. Be better than that, dude. Her name was Palm.
She doesn't have the capitalized letter in the middle. What gives?
She does not, yeah. But she has chosen the name Bleeder for herself. Ancient, older than the destruction of the world, older than I am. Which, yeah, she would be older than Sazed, because when we met Tensoon, he was like 700 years old.
This is
he was of the
Tensoon's
third
evil
generation
sister.
as well, yeah.
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 Yeah, so that gives us, when the kandra come back, it's not just that kandra can be, it's the same kandra can be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like they went to Kandra school together. She like he was like the class loner, she was like the queen bee. Everyone's always like, oh no, neither of them are ever going to amount to too much, and like they wrote messages to each other in the yearbook saying how much they hated each other.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if our friend Tensoon will show up, or maybe after Vin's death, he was like, "Nah, I'm not coming back."
Maybe he's guarding the tomb.
Ooh.
He's the guardian. He's just like, here lies Lord Mistborn and
the Ascendant Warrior.
Yeah.
The Ascendant Warrior and the final Emperor.
He's still in dog form. He just lays there.
But it's very intimidating, the description we get. It's like, she's crafty, careful, and brilliant, and I'm afraid that she might have gone mad. I was like, well, so stop her. She's your freaking... And he's like, well, it's not so simple. Free will? No. I can control somebody. I would act, for Bleeder has disobeyed her contract with me. Something is wrong. And Wax says, what? And God was silent for a time. I do not know yet. And Wax says, is that possible? And Say says, it appears so. I just love this. He's like, wait, is it possible for God to not know something? And Say's like, apparently it is. Who knew?
I was mortal once, buddy.
Yeah, it's true. She has removed one of her blessings that kandra keep inside themselves to retain cognition, so cannot forcibly control her. One spike means insanity. But something is wrong beyond that. She can hide from me, and I can speak to her. She doesn't have to listen. I can't keep track of where she is. And he's like, well, aren't you everywhere? Didn't you just say that? It's like, well, yeah, but it's kind of more complicated than you would think, actually. Being a god is more complex than a mortal can comprehend? What a surprise. And then Harmony laughs, and Wax is like, wait, did I just get sarcastic with God? And Says is a little bit like nostalgic. He's like, yeah, man, I don't get much of that these days. It's like old times. Since Kelsier, well, I haven't had much of that. So maybe Kelsier's not around anymore, or he doesn't talk to Kelsier anymore, or who knows?
Kelsier finally decided, all right, fuck it, I'm out, going to the spiritual world.
Maybe.
Because you have to imagine, while Sazed is overlooking this planet and Kelsier is wandering around in the cognitive realm, like occasionally they would catch up. It's like, so how's God stuff? Good. How's ghost stuff?
Yeah, you would think, right? Because Kelsier doesn't really have anyone to talk to, and Sazed can theoretically hear him wherever. So anytime you get bored, it'd be like, hey, how you doing?
For those 300 years, Sazed is trying to get Kelsier and Marsh to talk to each other, and they're just like, no.
Oh, that's true. I guess Kelsier had Spook to talk to at the end, and we theorized that maybe Marsh could too. So yeah, that's a good point.
Like, do you guys just want to go sit down for a cup? No. Guys, I think it'd be really good if you just talk to each other. No.
So, as Jamie pointed out earlier, he got the power to hear thoughts from preservation and the ability to speak into thoughts from ruin. Each one had only half. I always found it puzzling. Almost like these powers were meant to be together. I know you've been reading young Lestiborn's book. I like he's still, young Spook. I'm not pleased that he made it, but I could not forbid him. I will trust that Marsh was wise in giving it to you. And he says kandra don't have allomantic or ferochemical powers, but she has learned to take them and use them to maintain her form. She can only use one at a time, and if she has to trade them, then she has to rip one out, the single one out, to fall on another one. Which, yeah, that's a fun game. He's like, I don't know what she's what her game is here, but I'm worried about it because she has spent centuries studying human behavior and she's planning something. And Sazed promises to send help. And Wax is like, well, I assume considering the source, it will be spectacular. And then he gets an image. He sees Harmony. Hands clasped behind him, eternity extending into darkness before him. And he's like, I'm trying to explain. My hands are tied here. I can't do like as much as you think. He's like, who ties God's hands? I did. Carrying these two opposed powers, I see both sides. I see the need for life and the need for death. I have to be balanced. And in being balanced, I have to be neutrality in a way. And Wax kind of gets into an argument because he's like, both these things are necessary. And Wax is like, murders aren't necessary. Like, you don't need people to kill. It's like, but the potential for murderers is necessary. People need to have the ability to choose, or none of it means anything. I don't think it's like I already fear I've made things too easy for men. The city, the perfect climate, the ground that renews itself. You should have had a radio a century ago, but you didn't need it, so you didn't strive for it. You ignore aviations and can't tame the wilds because you don't care to study proper irrigation or fertilization. And Wax goes, the radio? What is that? And Harmony's like,
this is all super cool. He's just like, yeah, all right, maybe I fucked up when I was doing godly stuff. And just like throwing out all these concepts, and Wax is just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And he's like, you don't explore. Which I didn't really think about that, but it's true. We talked about it before, that they don't really seem to explore outside of the basin. And Harmony's like, this is a problem. Like, you don't explore, and why would you when I've given you everything you want? You've barely progressed past what I gave you 300 years ago in the books. So, and then he says, yet others who were nearly destroyed, and then peters off. And then he says, does that ruin your faith? Does it worry you that God is fallible? And Wax is like, well, you never claimed to be infallible, so that I remember. So, and I love the ending of the conversation where he's like, be less harsh with Marisai Combs. You aren't my only agent in the affairs of men, and I worked quite hard to maneuver her into the position where she could do some good for the city.
So again, exposition basically saying she's special. Be nice.
Yeah. And then Wayne's like, hey, you done talking to yourself in there? I heard voices in my head once too, I banged my head against the wall until I went unconscious. Never heard them again. Showed them good. I did. Yeah, okay. And so we cut to Marisai, who's inside the police station, which they have just driven up to. They've got the prisoner who she caught, and he had a pair of bracers, so like ferrochemical bracer looking things, but nothing else. And they're like, so he's metal-born. Why didn't he use his abilities? If he killed Winston with ferrochemical speed, like old Waxilium Dawnshot says, he should have done the same thing today. And so they're arguing over, did this guy kill Winston? Is there something else going on? And Reddy wants to beat the guy up to interrogate him. And Marisai's just like, you can't do that. And Reddy's like, don't tell me about your statistics. I know how to make a man tell the truth. She's like, no, it's not about statistics. If you torture him, then you ruin the prosecution. His attorneys will get him off for sure. And this other guy, Cabral, is like, okay, so send for his daughter. We'll threaten her in front of him, but not actually harm her, and then he'll talk. And it says Marisai rubbed her forehead. That's specifically illegal. Do you not know anything about the law?
Part of me was wondering how much of this they did just to annoy her. Because surely they're not like that. Also, Reddy's the one. Is Reddy the one that wanted Marisai's role?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just gonna annoy her anyway.
It's true. I thought Cabral was like more friendly to her in that brief spot we saw a bit before.
That may have been, but that doesn't mean that
Yeah, it could be an act.
And I like Cabral's conclusion is, yeah, the solicitors have sold out to the other side. She's right. Marisai's just like, son of a, it's not the point, but whatever. As long as you're going to follow the rules, I guess I'll take it. And Reddy's like, well, I think it's unfortunate that we've got someone among us who seems to be more on the solicitor's side than the side of justice. She knows more about their ways than ours. And Aradel's like, yeah, she does. She knows about the law, the current law. Maybe it would be a good idea for you to pay more attention to the laws that you've sworn to uphold. Yeah, no shit. And he asked her if she wants to interrogate him. And she's like, I mean, I give it a try, but we may as well just wait a few minutes. Why? Distantly a door slammed. That's why. And here comes Wax. He walks in, looks at the guy, narrows his eyes, and then looks at the bracers, one of them jumps off the table, and he says, "Those aren't metal mines. This man is a decoy. You've been duped," and then turns to leave. It feels very Sherlock Holmes to me, where walks in, looks at stuff, doesn't ask any questions, is just like, "Oh yeah, I can tell everything that's going on here. Let's you're wasting my time." And I love Sherlock Holmes personally, so I'm okay with it. And his evidence is that those aren't real metal mines. It takes more effort to push on real metal mines. So the metal mines are fake. Someone intentionally wants you to think that this guy is a ferrochemist, so they're trying to fake you out with him. They want us to think we have the killer so that they can do something else. And so he gets Marisai off on her own. It's like, "So I spoke to God on the way here." And she's like, "All right, I'm glad that you had some prayer time."
I
Cool
loved that
story,
response.
bro.
I thought her first response would be that you're insane. But no, I spoke to God. Oh, well, prayer's good.
Okay, that's healthy.
Yeah.
And he's like, the thing is, he spoke back, and she takes a minute, cocks her head, is trying to figure out the meaning of that sentence, and then she's like, "Okay, so what did he tell you?"
See, the thing is, I feel like if Wayne had said this, everyone would have just taken it at face value. They may not have taken it seriously, but they wouldn't have even bothered trying to dispute it or anything. It's like, oh, but it's not Wayne, it's Wax saying it. Shit, maybe we need to pay attention to this.
And so he explains that, there's a kandra killer, or a faceless immortal. It's just like, well, so that could be them. That she could have any face. So how do you know this is not the killer? And Wax is like, well, because the governor is alive. This is someone who killed arranged for the deaths of all his people, and then got into Winsting's safe room and very casually murdered him behind a wall of guards. They would not be this easily caught. They wouldn't have missed their shot to kill the governor. And then he actually does go and talk to the guy who's like, "She said you'd come." She? God. Harmony? No. She said I had to kill the governor, had to attack him. I tried not to listen. She promised me freedom, but here I am bound. There's something for you in my arm.
It's a very Dark Knight moment here.
It is. It really is. I was about to say the same thing. And it's a coin that is in his arm. And Wax is like, "Where'd you get this?" And she says, "What is this coin?" And he goes, "A message. This guy won't know anything else. Bleeder knew we might capture him. So, do you have any plans for tonight?" And she's like, Wait, what? Why?"
Because my fiance is going to a ball, and I need a date.
But he's like, "No, the governor is attending a party, and I guarantee Bleeder is going to be there." And that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, in very, very, we're definitely moving forward at a clip here. As Joe said at the beginning, this plot is going real fast, and it's getting worse all the time. Now we've got a rogue conjurer out there who could have any power and use it to be killing people. So what do you guys think is going to happen next?
Okay, so I think this coin is important to Wax anyway. It's got some kind of significance. I don't know, maybe if it's Leslie's lucky coin, or I don't know. I think that's going to be pretty important. Just what our framed friend was saying, he tried not to listen to her and that she's God. I don't know, is it possible that with one spike she's figured out a way to speak to him in his thoughts, maybe?
That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, because I was like, what do you, I tried not to listen. And I was like, she's standing right in front of you. It's very hard not to listen. But it sounds like he's talking about a voice in his head, and it wouldn't be Say's doing it. So, that's what I was kind of thinking, that maybe there's a way that she's figured out how to do that with only one spike. She's blocked Say's from being able to talk to her, but has perhaps, I don't know, maybe the coin was the bit of metal. If the coin, for example, was used to kill somebody and it's embedded in him, maybe there's now a way that she could talk to him, possibly. I think that's kind of what I like the idea of there. I don't know, there's so much going on. I don't really know. You sort of think about things that might be far down the track and then they just happen immediately. I don't really know what else to come, but that's kind of my thought for this week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of crazy, it seems like. So who knows exactly what he meant by that, but I agree, it does sound kind of like that.
Yeah, and just like that, she would be a bit crazy, and then he's mumbling a lot. It's like, oh, maybe you do have to be a little bit insane for this to work. I don't know, but I feel like there's got to be something new here. Like, I feel like we're used to the kandra, and we're used to the idea of hemalurgy, and we know sort of what we think we know about hemalurgy, but there's got to be something that's a surprise here. I think it would be too predictable to just keep it with what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what the bit of metal is about unless Jamie's correct and it's got something to do with hemalurgy. And that's kind of how he's put that together. But the thing that I think the thing that I find more interesting is and I don't know that we touched on it a lot was the bloody tan stuff. So it's like he keeps seeing bloody tan. And so in my brain I'm like, well, that's gotta be, maybe it's the same kandra. It's gotta be a kandra, because I don't think Wax is going crazy, right?
Yeah,
So
and I think Sage says, like, the person wearing Bloody Tan's body.
Yeah, that's right. Sage even mentions it. So there's gotta be some kind of reason behind that, I guess. Like, Bloody Tan, was Bloody Tan a kandra when he was supposedly quote unquote killed, or was it after it took his bones? So I don't know. Something's gotta be there with that. But yeah, again, we have a kandra. We have a mystery that surrounds a kandra, much like the second book of the first era of Mistborn. But the stakes are, I guess, a little higher, because we know the kandra is specifically trying to kill somebody, or specifically killing people, not just spying. So, and so I guess, like, for me, it's like, what's the reasoning? Like, okay, Say's Harmony, whatever, says that the kandra's insane, but, like, what's really the point? Because it's very unusual for kandras to break contracts. So why, like, and maybe they don't live by the same rules, but I mean, Harmony said he had a contract with them. So
yep.
I don't know. It's all kind of jumbled up right now, but I feel like something's forming. But yeah, as for immediate predictions, hopefully they'll go to the party and then figure out, maybe they'll come across the actual kandra itself. Another thing that's weird to me is, like, what, like, even with this mystery, okay, say the kandra is insane, what is the point in targeting these political figures? Like, what is the kandra gaining? Let's say the kandra wants to gain world dominance. I mean, I guess you could say, although, why kill the brother? I don't understand the killing the brother part. It's like, if you kill the governor, that kind of makes sense, because then you could steal the governor's bones and then be the governor. But if you publicly kill the governor, I don't really, like, I don't know. I don't see, like, it's hard for me to see what the goal is for the kandra. So there's got to be something more to it.
Well, and Say says, it's like, this person's been studying human behavior for centuries, and they're smart. They have some sort of plan. So yeah, right now we're seeing the stuff that they're doing, and we're told that she's insane,
right?
But we're also told that there's a plan that she's working towards. So it's got to be something, right?
Yeah, it's got to be calculated in some way. So yeah, I don't know, weird stuff.
It's also interesting that you point out, like, we've never had to worry about a kandra killing people before. Like, they literally would not do that in the first trilogy. So now
their contracts forbade them.
Kind of scary. They can do all sorts of stuff. Who knows?
Yeah, very strange.
Okay, so as far as where this is going, I feel like there are a lot of hints here being dropped. I mean, obviously the characters have all just said, "Oh man, we've got to go to this governor's ball thing because Bleeder's going to pull something there, Bleeder's going to pull something there," and I feel like we might have a similar situation that we did at the governor's speech. Like, she might send a patsy there to keep their attention, but I feel like Bleeder's going to be up to something else somewhere else. I don't know what that is yet, but I feel like there's got to be some other masterstroke. I don't know. It all just feels very heavy-handed. Like, oh, she, like, took out the governor's brother, so it must be going after the governor. I'm like, well, yeah, it took out the governor's brother, but he was hosting a criminal auction with, like, all the biggest crime bosses in the city. So maybe, like, the plan is, like, has nothing to do with the governor at all, but it's designed to take out a whole bunch of the criminals that are infesting the city, or something like maybe Bleeder's like trying to set herself up, or just I'll just make the assumption that maybe she's working with the set. Why not? Maybe they're trying to set the set are trying to become like the only crime gangs in town, so that they can control the underbelly before making any moves on the overbelly. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that like they are hammering so hard. It's like they're going after the governor. I think that's like they might at some point, but right now they're not going to, because everyone's looking in that direction. They've got something else up their sleeve. So yeah, something will go down at this ball, but I think it's just going to be another decoy set up by Bleeder to get Wax off the trail. Yeah, don't really know what else is going to happen, but I feel confident in this.
I'm glad you brought up the set, because that was going to be my question. Is like you had this idea that the set maybe even were kandra, and everyone has been talking about Suit has to be involved here somehow, right? Like they were the bad guys in the last book. They got to be showing up here, and now we know that at least for now, our primary bad guy suspect is a kandra, possibly lone gunman. I mean, not necessarily, but it doesn't sound like Sazed thinks there's a whole crew of kandra out there causing trouble. So I don't know. How does that change things in your mind?
I don't know. Like I feel like she could be a rogue agent, but I don't know to what end. I mean, she could be working with a set, and they may not be kandra at all. I don't know. But she took out the criminals, and like the fact that Mr. Suit was meant to be at that auction and wasn't. Winston specifically noted that, makes me think maybe Suit knew something was going to go down, or maybe he sent Bleeder, or maybe he just has associations with her and knew that she was going to pull this off. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe let's just spin some bullshit here. Maybe Bleeder is taking out criminals because she hates that humans can get away with shit like that, whereas kandra seem to have a more specific purpose and can't. Like this could be, like the ending of Dogma, where
I was about to say very Dogma, yeah.
Yeah, but like Bartleby's just like, oh yeah, we have to do all the servitude, but humans get the choice to be fucking awful, which isn't fair, and so like goes on a rampage on to that end. So maybe it could be something related to that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There's one more question that I'm curious to get y'all's perspective on. So Harmony's told us who this is doing it, but this person, or this kandra, I'm sorry, has chosen to wear Bloody Tan's body, to apparently show up in random places and be seen by Wax, and to leave a message specifically for Wax on this dead body. Like, why? Are there any thoughts on like what all of a sudden makes this personal to Wax that they're messing with him?
Again, I guess if they're working. So I was going to say if like with Mr. Suit.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. If they're working with the set, then Suit may have like specific. Yeah, that makes sense.
I was thinking that she'd be a really good distraction for Wax, so that Suit could do what he wanted. So if Suit, he's trying to look for Mr. Suit and figure out, what he's doing, but Bloody Tan shows up, and all of a sudden this is a big mystery to keep Wax busy while something else is going down.
Makes sense. He almost lost Marksman, who we know works with the set completely due to the first appearance of Bloody Tan, right? So that if that wasn't planned by the set, then it was just a really lucky coincidence for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's got to be something. I'm just confused. I don't know. It's got to be something more, because like, for just as an example, because like this, because Mr. Suit or the set or whatever, they didn't really have any involvement with Bloody Tan that we know of. So how would they know that connection? And like, why would the kandra even be there to get Tan's bones? Like, I don't know. Something weird's happening.
Well, Tan was ranting about having seen death and God and everything like that. So maybe like the Faceless Immortals, he was already a person of interest to the Faceless Immortals, and then Bleeder took the bones, went rogue.
That makes sense. What'd be cool then is if Miles' body came back too.
Ooh.
Could have found it. I get the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, as connection wise, is that we know that Uncle Ladrian wanted Wax to come back and take charge of the house after his son died, right? Like, he tells him that at the end of the last book. He's like, I was hoping that you would be an asset to me. But we know at the start of the first book that Wax did not seem inclined. He like had that letter about
Mm.
his uncle dying, and he was like, I'm not going until things happened in that prologue, and all of a sudden he has a reason to go. So
Yeah, I don't know. You're bringing that up, so it makes me think it's definitely not that. So, because like, why would you poke in a theory that like is not true or that is true?
or do I do that every once in a while?
Crisscross. Nah, you're full of crap.
He doesn't know that we know that he knows that we know. Oh, God.
Okay. For next time, 3 chapters, 8, 9, and 10 is what we are reading.
Ooh.
So that is the next episode. In the meantime, we have 2 emails. Let me touch on. One of them is actually, we read the first email from this person last time when Joe was not here, from Nelson Mandela. And after we'd read that on the show, Nelson sent in another one because I guess he just listened to the episode where, Dak, you mentioned having the Dresden Files books, but they were like mismatched on your shelf because some were softback and some were hardback or whatever. So this email starts out all in caps. Dak, same. The Dresden Files paperback issue. I got into the series in college, and I don't have the first 5 books because my friend had all those for me to borrow, or I could bike to the local library. I got all the paperbacks from White Knight onward until Skin Game when I caught up to the hiatus, and I actually waited the year necessary until they finally released Peace Talks and Battleground in paperback to read them. Woof. Yeah, I know, I could never do that. It actually turned out better for me having the 2 stories at once in one go, so hooray. But I don't know how I'll do it with the others now. It was tough, and I haven't even checked if the new publisher's novels are the same height as Rock's. I feel like they aren't, but I don't want to know about this tragedy. So Dak, you were absolutely seen there. Phew.
Yeah,
My man.
I didn't remember you mentioning that, but for me, I only have up to Small Favor because I think I started to read White Knight and then never finished it. But all of my copies up through White Knight are in paperback, but then Small Favor for whatever reason I have in hardback.
I can't imagine waiting a year to read the 2 new books, especially after it was already like 6 years for them to come out.
Oh wow, 6 years is a long time.
I mean, he says like it was nice to have both in one go. We didn't have to wait that long between those 2 books. It was like 2 or 3 months. So that wasn't a terrible wait. Okay, the other email is from Adam, who says, Dear Sanderlanche crew, I was inspired to reread the Cosmere books by Brandon's Kickstarter and found your podcast a great way to engage in the material. With your guidance, I've now read all of the Cosmere, including a few short stories I'd never gotten around to in the past. I really love Sanderson's work, but don't have any friends or family to discuss it with, which made the podcast a great substitute. I've now read/listened along with your back catalog, and have finally caught up to you guys, so now I have to wait like a mere mortal. I really enjoy. Yeah, right.
Wait. When was the Kickstarter announced?
It started at the beginning of.
I was just thinking that.
It started at the beginning of March, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it lasted from the beginning to the end of March, I think.
And now we're at the end of April. So
he's read all Cosmere.
Yeah.
And listened to all our episodes in 2 months?
What else do you do, man?
Do you?
Yeah.
Does he have Bendeloy? Does he slow down time around him? Because how else do you have the time?
Must do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a lot of people listen to podcasts like all the time at work, so that part's easy enough. The reading, that's what. I mean, I guess if you listen to audiobooks too, maybe, but then you got to listen to both those things, and that takes. Yeah, I don't know. He says, I really enjoyed your thoughts and predictions, especially the eerily accurate ones. It's certainly an interesting way to read the books and allows for maximum chance to pick up on foreshadowing, which helps explain theories like Jamie's prediction that Sayes was the hero of ages, Joe's Or-Sor theory, or Dak calling Marsh's return. However, the totally wrong stuff that you get focused on, such as Eshin being a secret villain, is also really hilarious. I suppose that's the result of throwing so many darts at the board. Some will be accurate, but a lot will be wildly off.
Oh, that is exactly it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, and I also think we just get on tangents where we wouldn't that be a funny or fun idea if Eshin was a secret bad guy?
It's just
like
fun.
I don't know that I ever really took that one seriously, but it'd be just ridiculous if what if she had been the one in the sewer like sacrificing somebody? Wouldn't that been like super metal and crazy?
And plus stuff like that, it also sort of spins out of this is a character who like we pay sort of attention to, but isn't really focused on in the book. So we just kind of get on the whole.
Yeah.
Man, how would you expand their role? Oh, make him the secret bad guy. That would be fucking great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think even Brandon himself just said it's like, man, no one gave a shit about Eshin. I'm like, man, Brandon, you're wrong.
Oh, take that, Brandon. He goes on to say,
because he will totally hear this.
Right? Yeah, I'm sure. However, your format is, in my opinion, very much not the way Brandon's books are meant to be read. I know it's not my place to tell others how to read stories, and reading a few chapters at a time works well for the format of the podcast, but I think that breaking the books up as you do diminishes the enjoyment of the stories. I think that some of the disappointment and letdown that the hosts sometimes feel when reaching the end may come from misplaced expectations due to weeks of discussing and theorizing that most first-time readers would not have. If the newbies have time, I definitely recommend them to reread the books in a more condensed manner to get quote-unquote authentic experience. Plus, they might pick up on some stuff they didn't notice the first time through, although they caught a lot of it already. Which, pause for a second, that's one of the reasons for the format is because we're not going to reread on the show, so being able to catch the most stuff in the first go is kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be honest. As long as we're doing this podcast, I just don't think I'm going to have the time or energy to go and reread any of them.
I reread them all the time, but that's me.
I might, but I'm going to give it some time. Because especially with, I'm just like, oh, I could reread the original Mistborn trilogy again. But I'm just like, well, we're kind of doing the second one now. I don't want to get them mixed up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
true.
read halfway through the prologue of Mistborn the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'm not reading this.
Like, Elantris might be easier because aside from Emperor's Soul, there isn't anything else from Cell to get mixed up with.
Right.
It's true. Something else that the podcast format makes more difficult are discussions about themes, character arcs, etc. These things are much more evident at the end of a book or series, but can get lost in the middle of the story. So it might be interesting to do a wrap-up episode when you finish a book where you discuss these sorts of things. Well, we did that kind of for the first book, but we've discussed it before, and we found that it's like, well, by the time we get to the end, we've kind of said what we had to say, and the wrap-up episode feels like there's not much to go into it.
We were just sort of spinning the wheels a bit.
And you have to listen to each of the episodes, but I feel like I try to pick up on themes as we're reading and like propose them, because that's another thing about literature in general. It's like, yeah, there's probably an original intended theme by the author, but at the same time, it's like if I come out with a different theme from the book, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm wrong.
It's true. Yeah, literature can be subjective. People pick up on all sorts of stuff that the author never intended, but it can be very deep and meaningful to them. So,
sure.
Sorry for the criticism. I really do love the podcast. It's evidenced by the fact that I binged all the episodes in about 4 weeks. But I feel that even the most enjoyable things should not be immune from pointing out flaws. Think of it as my love for the show wanting to make it even better. Hey, I don't mind people pointing out flaws. I'm fine with that. I don't know that we could do much to like change the format at this point. Like it would be, we talked about that recently, I think. It'd just be a huge turnoff for the people who do love the format. So like our audience who's been with us for 100 episodes is like, yeah, we're going to change now.
We never change.
And the end of the email is, for Data, what are your plans for when the Lost Metal comes out? I think it might be interesting for you to do a blind read through along with the others to get the experience that they've had the entire ride. No, I know that I just spent a couple paragraphs saying that it's the wrong way to read, but having subjected your friends to it, it might be fitting payback for you to suffer not getting to just binge the book. It would also make predicaments even more crazy if no one actually knows what's going to happen. If you're worried about scheduling, I'm sure the listeners would be happy to provide a schedule for going through the book once it comes out, or even just some page numbers for ends of chapters so you could reconstruct it yourself. Of course, it's up to you. I'll be listening regardless. Thanks for a very engaging and fun podcast. Best, Adam. So I will say that I think it's come up before, and it was definitely a suggestion in the Discord that it's like, hey, when Lost Metal comes out, why don't you read along with them? I'm not going to do that. And if I pretended that I could do that, I'm like, oh, I'm totally going to do that, I would be a liar, because I would absolutely go and read it, because I can't. I've been following Brandon for most of my adult life at this point. I can't stop. So
he won't subject himself to what he subjects us to.
No.
I know. You hear that? He's basically saying like, hey, you know that thing I make you guys do every week? I'm never going to do it.
No. there's a reason that I designed the show so that I was the guy who had read everything, and I was working with people who hadn't, because I couldn't fill that other role, and I know that about myself. So, but that being said, as Dak mentioned, the Discord convinced me that it's the thing that convinced me to actually maybe do a Patreon so that people could help support. That what I could do is read at my own rate, but then record my reactions fresh as I'm reading each chapter, so that you get a little bit of that, but I also don't have to particularly slow down I have to slow down enough to record stuff instead of like burning through it in one night or whatever. But I still get to read the book, and you guys will still get my reactions to it, just not along with everybody else, because I can't make myself do it. I'm sorry. It's just like the previous email about waiting a year for those Dresden Files books. I've been following Dresden Files longer than Brandon, and it's probably my all-time favorite single series, and I could not wait a year when there was a new book out there. I might convince myself for like 2 hours. It's like, no, maybe I can wait. And then I would be at the bookstore or on my Kindle buying it, and I can't stop myself. It's an addiction, but it's not black tar heroin or something like that. So I feel like I'm doing okay.
It's not necessarily a vice, so it's all right.
But thank you guys for the emails. If anyone would like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Discord, Instagram. I kept trying to say Imager for a second there. It's Instagram.
Man.
On Patreon now, Facebook, all those sorts of places. Remember, for next time, 3 more chapters. That is 8, 9, and 10. And we're now 35% of the way through the book. So we're moving.
Clipping along.
Yep. So I hope everyone is having as much fun as we clearly are, with the mystery, the excitement. Okay, what we'll do is we'll continue to split it up a little bit. We did the Shards of Adonalcium backers last time. This time we will do the misting level backers, and they can get ferrochemical powers, which I feel like maybe I should go in and change that to fairing instead of misting in the name at this point. And then the next time we'll do the ska backers, and that way we're not going ridiculously long, but we're getting everything done. So we have 4 misting level backers. The first one is Armor Wolf.
Armor Wolf.
Who I guess must be European because they're backing in euros. So.
Armor Wolf.
No, I'm sorry, not Armor Wolf. I misread that. It's Amor Wolf. AMUR Wolf.
Oh.
So Love Wolf.
Love Wolf. Interesting. Man, you, my friend, what do you store? Why don't you store? I feel bad doing this to you, but I think you're going to store identity, your true self.
Okay. I don't know why you feel bad about that, but
I was about to say I don't actually feel bad.
The next one is Kraft, who is that's New Zealand dollars, so it's a Kiwi.
Kraft macaroni and
cheese. Is that offensive to New Zealanders, Australians? Is Kiwi like a mean thing?
I mean, we refer to them as Kiwis, but I don't know that it offends them or not. I mean, It's Australia, where sometimes it's pretty offensive.
Yeah, you're like, it's probably especially to New Zealand. You're like, yeah, those guys.
They're like the kid brother that.
In the rugby specifically.
Yeah.
New Zealand listeners, Kraft, if you're probably out there, write in. Let me know. I don't want to say things that offend people.
Sure.
Most of the time, anyway.
Yeah. So Kraft, you store connection. You're a connector.
Nice. Get connected. That sounded a little inappropriate. Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't until you said it, but okay.
Yeah. The next one is very, very prolific on our Discord is Ranksk, Rangsk.
Ranksk. You are a sparker. You store mental speed. You're a quick thinker, and I like it.
Nice. And the last one is Matt.
Matt, you're a gasper, my friend. You store breath.
Nice. Professional swimmer.
Is that actually the name?
Yeah, gasper.
Yeah, because you have to like hyperventilate while you're storing breath, so that you then don't have to breathe.
Okay. Right.
On one hand, I was like, that sounds like a really cool power to have, and I just didn't even think about how you would store that up. But yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. We'll do the ska next time. Thank you, everyone, especially to those patrons out there. We love you guys. We really appreciate you wanting to support the show, especially at this point where we still haven't put out any Patreon. Although Joe, patron content, I should say. Although Joe has finished his first draft of that script, So
Yep.
we're
I'm waiting
making
for the
our
rest
way.
of you to read it. So
Yeah.
Yes,
if
yes, I
you
need to get
guys
on
are
that.
upset about a holdup of said content, it's not Joe's fault. Joe wrote a whole script.
We promised them June. We've got time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. I'm
good.
just saying, if the heat's going on somebody, it's not going to be me.
So thank you everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, people on the Discord, for keeping. God, there was some crazy shit going on in the Discord this week. You guys missed the whole discussion. Okay, so I'm gonna hit this real briefly because it's weird. Somebody posted like a quiz or test that you're supposed to take to tell you what your kink is, but they accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally is the accusation now, posted their own results instead of a link to the blank quiz. And it started a very, very, like, half the day discussion between people that I missed most of. I had to read after the fact about various characters in the books we've read and what their kink would be. And
Oh, dear
What is
God.
going on in that Discord?
yeah, it got crazy. So anyway, that's the kind of
First
stuff.
dinosaur erotica, now this.
Yeah, you guys. You guys are weird.
We love you, but you're weird.
But anyway, so thank you, everybody. Remember, 3 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound. And Wuzzing to the Time of Next. Colo?
Check my head, I guess the joke's on me. Oh, I'm not laughing at the irony. Oh no, check my head, the sky at night on me. I stand the highest heights. I look to the sky at irony. I stand the highest heights. So riddle me this now and riddle me that.
What am I missing? Oh, we're supposed to do the Patreon stuff.
Yep.
It may be getting kind of late for that.
Well, also you got to say music by Miracle of Sound.
I'll just cut you in saying it. That's fine.
Sounds good. Hold on, let me do my Jimmy Stewart voice. Clarence, it's music by Miracle of Sound. It's amazing.